7. And McCarron goes down the field, and it's caught and breathes in for the touchdown.
Two things in life that suck: death, taxes, and 85 will always go.
Welcome to New Stripe City, a podcast for die-hard Bengals fans. I'm your host, Ace Boogie. I know you guys been wondering where I've been at. Like, Ace, the draft just happened. We saw the recap on YouTube, but where you at? Where you at? Well, guys, it was one of those weeks, man. As you guys know, I stay in Florida, right? So, this past weekend, right during the draft, the worst time that could have ever happened, AC goes out, right? Now, for my homeowners out there, y'all know we had those inspections and, you're supposed to get the HVAC checked, right? I was extremely, I took it with an ultimate matter of urgency that, I asked this guy all of the questions, right? Guy tells me, 3 to 5 years, you're looking at replacing your unit. 4 months later, here I am, the AC goes out. We're in Florida, the draft is on. We are burning up in the house. So, basically the entire week, man, I was in and out of work and in and out of everything, just trying to make sure that we have a cool unit. Today, we have a cool unit. So, your boy, we've got that situated. Now we can get back to these Bengals. I've been posting some articles on the website. I hope you check it out, newstripecity.com. If you're not subscribed on there to our mailing list, make sure you subscribe there. We actually send out a newsletter, so that way you get updated and you get to read some of our new stories, and that goes out every week. We're starting next week with that, so be sure to sign up. I think all you have to do is register your email. It's on the right-hand side of the website. So all of those issues should be fixed, but I had a couple of announcements for you guys. So I decided that Sunday, and if you guys have been following my YouTube channel, you know this. Sundays are going to be where we do our NSC live show, and it's going to be me and my co-host G. You guys seem to really like her. We're going to keep going forward with that. But if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, be sure to do that, because NSC Live is going to always be on there first. Obviously, since it's live, the audio version comes out later. I'm going to try to commit to getting that to you guys by Monday, if not Monday, Tuesday. But then I'm also going to do an audio only show. So on NSC Live, you'll see me in the video. You'll see everybody on there. And I know that we had some audio issues, but they shouldn't be as, I guess in a sense, fluent as they were before, just because we worked out some of those kinks. But you'll see me and G, and we'll have on hosts from time to time. We'll do that, and then we'll have the audio only show, which will be on Thursdays, which will just be me, and you'll get the audio piece. For my people on YouTube, I'm still going to upload that as well, but you just won't see any video. I know you guys want to see Ace and everything, but it just makes it a little bit more flexible, and I feel like it's the best way to go about getting you guys the most content possible. But with that being said, let's get into the Bengals, man. So obviously we recapped the draft. If you checked out my draft recap article on the website at newstripecity.com, you'll see that I gave the Bengals an A+. Some people try to say that, I haven't seen anybody do that. You're just being a homer. Look, man, on all honesty, I honestly feel like the Bengals draft last year was an A, in my opinion. This draft blew that one away. And I thought that last year's draft was the best since 2011, just to get things clear, okay? When you look at what the Bengals attacked in this draft, you're talking about not only the positions they picked, but the risks that they were willing to take. We've never seen the Bengals do that. You can tell that Marvin Lewis is on the hot seat. My house this past week was about as hot as Marvin Lewis's hot seat, and you could tell that man was drafting like his job was on the line, right? So we grabbed edge rushers that were tweeners that we never really have grabbed like that in the past. Good ones. We went out and grabbed a burner at receiver in John Ross, who I'm liking each more by the day. Initially, I didn't like the pick, but after you look at the entire draft, I love it. We got a whole bunch of speedsters. We added depth. There's going to be a lot of competition. But today I want to go over the rest of the division, and let's talk about what they did. I actually had a comment on my YouTube page that somebody, one of the fans out there, said that, hey, we need to see what the rivals around the division are doing. So what I'm going to do today is we're going to go a little bit into what they did, and I'll give grades for the rest of the division. I kind of already started this in a sense a little bit on the website with the Browns. When you look at the Browns draft, I give them an A. They took some quality guys in the first round. Obviously, they went with Myles Garrett, number one. Smart move. Then they later went with the safety from Michigan, Jabril Peppers. I wasn't too big on that one. I kind of gave that pick a B because you just don't know where Peppers is going to play. But then after that, they went and grabbed Njoku, which I love because they took him from the Steelers. I mean, anybody but the Squealers is fine with me. So they did that. They got some key players there. You went into the second round, and then they still landed the quarterback that was arguably supposed to go in those areas in the first round with Kaiser. Love the pick. He's a guy that can develop under Hugh. I think that Kaiser can be a good player under him. And then you follow that up with a couple of picks later with Howard Wilson in the later rounds at corner. I think that they could have gone corner a little bit earlier, but I'm not mad at the pick because Howard Wilson is a pretty good corner. He's just not a shutdown corner. And with Joe Hayden being on a little bit of a decline in his career, you would have thought that they would have went for somebody else. They also took a chance on Caleb Brantley. And I think that the Caleb Brantley pick was a smart pick because he's dealing with a domestic violence issue right now. But you used a pick on him that you don't necessarily really need. You used a 6th-round pick, and they bolstered that defensive line. I think the best pick, in my opinion, for them was Larry Ogunjobi. I thought that he was a realistic option for the Bengals in the 2nd or 3rd round. But being how the draft fell, I think that the Bengals did the right thing. But I think that he could be a presence on a defensive line as well. You pair Ogunjobi with Danny Shelton, with Myles Garrett, and you sprinkle in a Caleb Brantley, that's a pretty decent lineup. I'm not even going to lie. The Browns did their thing. They took Matt Days a little bit later. I thought that they'd actually addressed running back a little bit earlier than they did, but I have no problem with it. Obviously, Isaiah Crowell ran like a madman against us, so not too mad about that pick, and I think that they're pretty set at running back as well. So overall, I gave the Browns draft an A+. I think it's the same as far as ours. They basically just blew this draft out of the water. Hugh Jackson is putting his Hugh print on their organization, and we'll see how they do going forward. So next we can go into the Baltimore Ravens. They went Marlon Humphrey in the first round. Honestly, from what I hear, they wanted to make that pick because apparently they wanted someone that they can match up with A.J. Green. I'm not sure that Marlon Humphrey is that guy. Honestly, he was kind of exposed in the national championship by Mike Williams. I think he was a little bit overrated. I also think that he gave up a lot of yards per catch to receivers. I don't think that he's necessarily the best pick for the Baltimore Ravens. I think that they could have gotten a better corner. I feel like they kind of reached. Some people said that they kind of reacted to the John Ross pick that we had. So if I had to give that pick a grade, I'd say a B-, honestly. Maybe a C+. Second round, they go and grab Tyus Bowser. Makes sense. This guy is kind of an explosive, quick-twitch athlete. He has good bursts off of the edge. He's a pretty good guy. I mean, he's more of a rusher. They have Terrell Suggs getting up in age, so they need to get a replacement for him, obviously. And I'd have to give that grade I'd probably give it an A. They didn't do too bad on that. Tyus Bowser was a pretty decent pick. And then in the 3rd round, they get Chris Wormley. It seems like they really had a concentrated effort on, filling needs on the defensive line. He's a guy that comes out low and aggressive off the snap. He's able to generate a lot of bull rush. He's not too bad. I think that he could be a potentially decent pick for them. I think that Wormley was actually supposed to go in the 2nd round, so this is a great value. I give this pick a A- for them. This A+ is probably one of the only A+ that I'm going to give the Ravens. They grabbed Tim Williams. We all know that I wanted Tim Williams to go to the Bengals in the 2nd round. We went with Jordan Willis, which I wasn't mad at, but I just love Tim Williams. He's a guy that wreaks havoc off of the edge. I honestly think that he's going to be the best edge player from this class. He definitely has the most potential. This was one of the moves that kind of scared me. Thinking of having to face Tim Williams, a guy who has been compared to the great Lawrence Taylor for the next couple of years, I don't know. But it seems like with the Ravens, I don't know what it is, and I'll talk to a couple of guys about it. Anytime that there's a player that I love that ends up going to the Ravens, they always end up trash. And examples of this would be Courtney Upshaw, Matt Elam. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying that Tim Williams will be. I think Tim Williams will be good, but I don't know what it is where players that I always want end up going there and they're not that good, right? So after that, they followed it up in the 4th round and they grab Nico Siragusa. He's more so a guard. I wasn't really mad at the pick, excuse me. But nothing to really brag about there. And then let's look at their 5th round pick. They picked Jermaine. I'm not even sure how to say this guy's name. El Umanor. He's okay. Not too much to talk about there either. I'd probably give that pick a C. This wasn't a great offensive line draft anyway, which there were a lot of pundits criticizing the Bengals about their lack of, selecting offensive linemen. But there really wasn't a need, honestly. I'm not going to say there wasn't a need. That's the wrong way to say it. There really wasn't the talent there to suffice picking one of them based off of the need. Let's put it that way. Plus, the Bengals already did their thing as far as revitalizing their offensive line. And then they ended their draft with their last pick being Chuck Clark. I honestly think that the Ravens draft wasn't necessarily, bad, but I don't think that it was a great all-around draft for them. I even think that maybe last year's draft for them might have been a little bit better. I think if you're thinking of in terms of just, the defensive line, obviously majority of these picks went to defense. It was a great draft, but I still think that they have some question marks and concerns on offense because when they attack this actual free agency period, they spent a lot of that on defense too. So I see what they're trying to do, and I respect Ozzie Newsome as a GM. But I don't think that this was one of his best drafts. So if I'm thinking about it and I have to give them a grade, I'm gonna give them a B because I think that they could have done a lot more on offense than they did other than linemen. And that's just my opinion. I think they need more receiver depth there. You let Kamar Aiken go, who was a decent receiver. You have Mike Williams there. I mean, not Mike Williams, Mike Wallace, but Mike Wallace was pretty good for them, so he's not too bad. But then you don't really know what you have really outside of that. I mean, you look at the guy Brashad Perriman that they picked. The guy's always hurt. He's not necessarily a huge threat. They just don't really have guys that really scare me on the offense. Other than Mike Wallace, I'd probably say that would be it. So I think that they could have done a lot more on offense to get Joe Flacco some more weapons. But with that being said, we'll move on to the Squealers. So with the Steelers, I think that they actually had a pretty decent draft. They usually aren't really historically good at drafting guys overall from their overall class. Not saying that they don't draft good guys. I just think overall they're not that great when it comes to drafting. But I think that this year, I think it was actually one of their best years in recent history on the top end. So they started off with T.J. Watt. That was about where he was supposed to go. Obviously, I think they wanted, from all reports out there, they wanted Njoku. Big Ben apparently has wanted a dynamic tight end, but the Browns stole that from them. And then it was also rumored that they were tied to Jabril Peppers. The Browns also stole him away from them as well. So they decided on Watt. I mean, I'm not surprised. They usually always pick linebackers in the first round. They needed a rusher to replace James Harrison, who's still their best rusher. They lost Lawrence Timmons. So, I mean, it makes sense. I'd probably give that pick about a B. And then my favorite pick of their draft was Juju Smith-Schuster. I love the guy. I hate that he's going to actually be in black and yellow now. He actually was the consensus number one receiver coming in after 2016, and they get him in the second round. I obviously caused some drama between Martavis Bryant, where he basically, pushed down Sammy Coates and said that he was his replacement instead, which was kind of crazy to see that unfold during draft day. But I think Juju is going to be a good pick for them. Cameron Sutton in the third round, another great pick. A lot of people were asleep on him. Kind of wanted the Bengals to target him. He was actually a guy who, just like Juju, was kind of a consensus number one corner or first round corner. Until he had a injury. He actually was thinking about coming out last year, decided not to, stayed, actually got injured about week 4, sat out the remainder of the season. So that was a tremendous value for them. They definitely need help at corner. James Conner, some people considered it a reach. I think that was around where he was supposed to go, between the 3rd and 4th round. They got a guy that can actually supplement Le'Veon Bell and could possibly be a replacement if he is to leave in the offseason. Joshua Dobbs in the 4th round. They're getting a replacement for Big Ben. That makes sense. He's getting up there in age. You also saw the Giants take heir apparent for Eli, so not too shocking there. Brian Allen, I think he was an athletic safety if I'm not mistaken. He was a pretty good guy as far as his measurables. But, that we'll have to see. This was a deep safety class, so we'll have to see how that plays out. And, the last 2 picks I wasn't really thrilled about. Colin Haba, I don't even know who that is. I'm not going to sit here and BS you guys like I actually know who that is. And Keon Adams, I've heard of that name before. But overall, I probably have to give the Steelers, for this draft, I'd probably give them a B. Maybe B plus, more so B. And it's not anything against them. I just feel like sometimes they kind of wait around and let other teams take players that they actually want. And I have no problem with that because I don't want to see them do good. But I think there were some other areas that they really could have hit a little bit harder. Tight end, obviously. They still don't have an answer there. And, even though you didn't get Njoku, you still had a couple of days to get some other guys. But yeah, those are my grades for the rest of the division. And so, like I said earlier, guys, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. We're on Podcast Garden, which means that we're in the iTunes store. I'm on Twitter at New Stripe City, so I'm always posting content. We have a Facebook page, so you can check us out there. Sometimes I go live. I answer your questions. You can send me questions either on my Twitter handle, and that's at New Stripe City, or you can also go on our website. But this will be the format going forward. We will have NFC Live on Sunday with me and G. That's live. You can look at it on YouTube. I'll also post that link on the website, so you can watch us live there. Then I'll have the audio segments, which are 15 minutes, and I'll start to release those on Thursday. So that way you guys get 2 times of everything. But with that being said, I'll leave you guys with a who day, all day, every day, and especially on Sunday.
Always business, never personal.
Here's a 3rd and 7. And McCarron goes down the field, and it's caught and breathes in for the touchdown.
2 things in life that suck: death, taxes, and 85 will always go.